Apple TV has been kind of knocking it out of the park with sci-fi shows. They have a new show called Pluribus, created by the guy that did Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan. And I just watched the first 5 episodes, which are all that are out so far. And I wanted to give my raw reaction. So first of all, I think it's totally awesome that a unique and talented director is tackling the subject of hive minds. I'm coming at this from the perspective of a sci-fi author who has written a gigantic 1 million word series about a hive mind, basically, and it's wonderful to see this in TV form. Of course, there are 10 million different ways to do a hive mind, and the Vince Gilligan version is not the same as my own Torth series. But, I do think this is very much an underserved niche in sci-fi fantasy. There are so many relevant social ramifications to the way a group or a hive mind works, and the one versus the many. The unique position that somebody who's going against the mob finds themselves in. I think it's also capturing the kind of lonely feeling and the crazy feeling that some people have when it's them against the mob. And I think this is especially relevant to today's world where we all know about social media dogpiling and social media mobs. Sometimes you feel like you're the only sane person in a world of insanity when you open up your Reddit or your Facebook account and you see what people are saying. So there's a lot of cultural relevance going on. Pluribus has an added layer where this hive mind seems very friendly, kind, and benign. They say they're vegans. They say they just want to help. And people have been comparing this to LLMs, large language models, or AI, which also has a lot of false flattery. When people type a query or a prompt into an AI engine, the AI is kind of built to serve. It's built to flatter you, to tell you how brilliant you are. Oh, you've asked a very good question there. That's very insightful. And it's leading to full-on delusions for some people. Something called AI psychosis, where people imagine that the AI is an actual person or a deity even that is helping them. Collective knowledge is extremely intimidating. It's creepy. Even when these things are saying that they just want to serve, they just want to make her happy, I think one has to wonder what their ulterior motive is. So here's my impression of one of them. We just want you to be happy, Carol. The main character in Pluribus, she's a woman named Carol. And she knows right away that this is extremely creepy. The fact that this mob, this group mind, only wants to please her and says they only want what's best for her. They keep reassuring her that her life is her own and that they don't want to hurt her. They just want her to be happy. I mean, of course she's suspicious. She's suspecting an ulterior motive. And the cliffhanger at the end of episode 5 kind of implies that there is something much more sinister going on, although as viewers, we have yet to see what it is. Now, I'm going to be diving into some spoilers here, so if you don't want to be totally spoiled on the show, you might want to back off. But I do think some of this was shown right away in episode 1. It's an alien invasion. The aliens have given humanity an RNA sequence that when they put it together, it's then a contagious, communicable virus that sweeps across the entire world as people are driven to connect with each other and to become this mind meld, hive mind type of deal. Anybody who has actually spent a lot of time thinking about alien invasions probably realizes, hey, if very advanced aliens with very advanced technology are going to invade Earth, this is likely how they would do it. They're not going to be feet on the ground invading us like this is a World War II mission or something. They're going to send robots, drones, a virus sequence, do something that makes us compliable or kills us off before they even get here. And I know that one of my favorite authors, Scott Sigler, kind of covered this in his Infected trilogy, where it was a little bit of a similar premise where the aliens send technology to turn people into more or less zombie robots. In that case, it's not so much a hive mind as a horde where it's trying to kill humanity. In Pluribus, I think what's going on here is the aliens want happy cattle. They want an enslaved population. Some of the other survivors that Carol has been dealing with are something like 13 survivors of this horrific plague, where for whatever reason the RNA virus never touched them, and so they still have their minds. They're not mind melded like Carol. And most of them are either happy with the way things are going, they are jealous that all the rest of humanity is mind melded together and they just want to join them, or they're just kind of a hedonist, happy that all the humans on Earth seem to be serving them happily. And it seems like Carol, and maybe so far we only know of one other person on Earth that is suspicious and finds this extremely disturbing and creepy, which is another facet of why I think this show hits home and really touches upon a cultural nerve, at least for me, because there is a feeling of being gaslit where sometimes when you're on social media or you're on the internet or you're talking about certain topics, it just seems like everyone is agreeing to be insane about something. It just seems like there's a mob consensus. And when you start to try to inject a little bit of reality or say, well, actually, historically, things were more like this, and the mob turns against you, you just feel crazy. You're like, am I the only sane person in the room? Am I the only person that sees what's going on here? And Carol is very much that one sane person in this world, this crazy world in Pluribus. And she's not coping with it all that well or in, the most healthy of ways, but she's coping with it and she wants to save humanity. And that does, I think, make her a heroic person. The show has a lot of tension because she is obviously not a scientist. In fact, she is a best-selling author, which let me dive into that for a sec here. I'm an author. I think in the 1990s, it was possible for a best-selling author to live the way she's living. And in this day and age, that's pretty unrealistic, to be honest. Very, very few authors are going to be living it up in Albuquerque, having a good time the way she is. But making her an author is a very interesting choice, especially since she kind of has a lot of condescension and disdain for her fans. Now she's in a situation where all of humanity seems to have lost their minds. She's beyond condescending and disdainful at this point. It's like she's afraid. This is terrifying. And if she's going to save humanity, you have to wonder, she's going to have to get over this disdain she feels. If she has not the greatest opinion of people that have read her books, but she wants to save them. It's kind of showing a nobility in her. In the same way that I think some of us look at the mobs on social media and think, well, it sure would be nice if I could save them from their own craziness. And there's also the fact that, she has kind of a heart project that she hasn't published. So she does want to affect people. She does want to reach people. That's in her. And she hasn't. She's been writing basically schlock to pay the bills. That stuff that she's not proud of. Now, as one of the few sane people left on Earth, she suddenly has the power to make everyone on Earth cry. Everyone on Earth have a seizure. Everyone on Earth react in whatever way she wants them to react, more or less. Which is probably kind of the power that a lot of people seeking fame and fortune, especially authors, want. This show kind of taps into that primal urge she has, which is most likely kind of at odds with her wanting to save humanity. And meanwhile, there's some hedonistic guy that is very much just living it up and enjoying it. And she isn't. She's not enjoying the constant adulation, which is probably what some authors want. In her case, she apparently doesn't like the adulation. She's just kind of disdainful of it. And so maybe of all people on Earth, she's the least likely to be sucked into some hedonistic fun times until they mind wipe her. She truly doesn't like it. She truly wants to change things back to the way they were. And I think as the viewer, you feel that. It's very much a visceral thing with her, where she's trying desperately everything she can think of in pretty smart ways, which again, great writing. Vince Gilligan is knocking it out of the park. And it's very refreshing to see a director who actually cares about originality. That is so sorely lacking in publishing and in Hollywood, and he's even said that in public. I admire that a lot. In terms of how it compares to his other work, I'd say the story is moving faster than Better Call Saul. I think it's more engaging. It's possibly he learned from that. Breaking Bad, of course, was extremely great. Storytelling, cinematography, and everything. I'd say this one is on the level so far of that level of storytelling, that level of cinematography. And it's a pleasure to watch. I hope it keeps going as well as it's going.